Hi, this is Liam from Turn Sounds. If you don't have a pencil sharpener, just karate chop it.
Welcome to Just Keep Walking. This is a podcast focused on the Walking Dead TV show, and today we're discussing the final episode of the entire show, season 11, episode 24, called Rest in Peace. I'm your host, Ben, joined today by
Isaac, hello.
How you
Nice to
doing?
see everyone.
and we've got
Liam, as
Awesome.
always. Unless I'm not here. I'm here tonight.
So we've taken a few days to process everything because there
Yeah.
was a lot to talk about. We
Oh, yeah.
were originally thinking we were going to record after watching the episode, and then got to the night, and there's just like, wow, that's
This is
That's
too
way too
important. We
much.
have to do
Yeah.
this.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very glad you made that suggestion because I've made a lot of notes, and there's a lot that I just wouldn't have had the time to
Nice.
think about afterwards. So you guys are feeling the same way. So yeah, we got a lot to cover. Overall thoughts. How did you guys? Does anyone in particular want to start? How did you guys feel about this episode?
You both looking at me?
All right, yeah, go for it.
Yeah? Okay.
Satisfying in a word. I think what we got, there were the highs and lows in everything. There were some marks that were missed. So obviously, we're going to keep it as positive as we can.
Yeah.
But, there were a lot of things afterwards I was having a think about because Ben encouraged us to have a good think about what were our visceral thoughts and really try and write them down while they were fresh. So, yeah, there was a lot of that. And a lot of them I've kind of got categories of notes.
Okay, cool.
They might not be in order, but
Yeah, no, more or less the same for me.
had a good ride with the both of you. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
definitely. How about yourself, Liam?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good episode. Like, pretty much ditto to what Isaac said. It had its little components where, like, okay, that could have been a bit better. But overall, yeah, I thought it was really, really great. It was a nice way to wrap everything up that needed to be wrapped up for the most part.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, really the same here. I really, loved it. Absolutely awesome. As far as I almost want to look at episode 23 and 24 as like two parts of a whole, because I feel like there's a lot of things that, like, if that was a feature-length finale, then that would sort of flow a bit better. Because there were some things that in the Judas monologue at the start of the previous episode that kind of pay off in this. So, but overall, regardless of that, just really happy with the finale. The biggest things that let it down are just overall, like how it's been set up throughout the whole season, and how the whole season sort of had some pitfalls. But as far as an episode in itself, yeah, I'm very happy. And series finales are definitely a tricky thing, and they're often not very satisfying, not done very well. But I think this one definitely gave us what we were hoping for, and gave us at least a satisfying ending, so we can look back positively on the show, as opposed to some other ones in recent history that have had bad endings, and that kind of taints the whole way you look at it. So I'm very happy, but definitely keen to go through some stuff and talk about it. So we start off with Daryl running into the hospital with Judith in his arms. Help me.
Oh, boy.
Right from the start, actually, this is probably honestly the biggest negative as far as something from within the episode.
Yeah.
Is the groggy Judith point of view, looking up at Daryl with the blink, the eyelids closing and stuff like that. It just didn't look great right from the start. That was like, oh, okay, this is a bit weird. But as soon as they go out of that to Judith having to go and close the door, the walkers are breaking in. I thought that was a really exciting scene. Great way to start the episode. And it was just a bit weird the way that it was edited, maybe for the first like 20 seconds or so. How did you guys feel?
So that was pretty much in my overall thoughts. Great content, poor cinematography.
Sure.
For most of the episode.
Right,
Again, this whole
okay.
groggy shot, I'm watching this from the perspective of like, oh man, this was like their last chance to get the thing right, and this was the thing they chose. Not great.
One defense I can give it is that it does call back a little bit to Rick in the hospital at first. And they didn't do the blinking. I thought that was weird. Like, the blinking wasn't in the first episode, but they did do the sort of weird frame rate where you're kind of seeing things happening twice. And so that kind of worked, at least as a little callback. And there's a few of those throughout the episode of Judith in the hospital being similar to Rick in the hospital. But But yeah, I mean, I would actually say overall for the episode, I quite liked a lot of the cinematography. It's just this, the first few seconds was just very strange with the point of view for me personally. But yeah, good point.
Don't know how Daryl got knocked out. That was a bit strange. I thought.
Yeah.
And for the whole episode, he's got this giant welt on his face.
Yeah.
It's an odd thing to have happen.
Yeah, that's it. And it was really only that opening scene where I felt a bit like, what's going on? But after that, yeah, I don't know. It's just this bit of a random one. So from there we go straight into the opening credits with a orchestral version, which was very nice. They didn't go overboard and completely change it. It was just the normal theme song, but played by an orchestra. So just a nice little touch for the finale.
You could hear it with the horns coming in as well. That and you go, oh boy! I wish they'd done it for the whole show. It just feels real.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah, and I would say it felt like pretty much all the music for this episode was done with an orchestra, or at least a lot of it, particularly some of the action stuff later on. Rewatching it the second time, I could really, it just felt a lot fuller than it usually does. Not that it doesn't feel full usually, but you can tell when something's played by like a full room of instruments. And I feel like they definitely made the best of it for this episode. So that was quite nice. That was good.
Nice.
Yeah, we straight out of that, you have the little teaser, the opening credits, and then we cut right back to the group in the alleyway blocking things off, and within about 20 seconds we get fairly major death for someone on this podcast.
So, oh golly, you may be wondering why I'm dressed all in black.
Yes, we were.
Is this a funeral? Is that what this is?
I am in mourning for our good mate, the legend of Luke. We can't say long live. Long may he live in our hearts, in our minds. Yeah. Look at that worry on his face.
Side note, actually, we are recording this one on video, so we're going to post it on YouTube, which we don't usually do. It's just a special one for this one. So if you want to see our faces, then now's your chance.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube, Just Keep Walking podcast.
See what we actually look like.
Yeah, there you go. But Isaac has really made an effort. He even went to the car to get his watch and everything. He didn't want to cheap out. You can't see his shoes or his pants, but he's got his dress boots on and everything.
Smell me, but I got my David Beckham signature cologne and my dress shoes. Yeah, I got married in these shoes. Very special for me. But also a bit of reverence to the last episode of the show. Yeah. It's a bit of a jerk move, I know, because
No. It's fun. And like because last episode we were talking about me having my moment with Lydia getting bit, and you guys are having a bit of a laugh about that. But boy, all you listening, you should have seen Isaac when Luke got bit.
My note for that one is Luke. No, but
that was actually the reaction while when it
like
happened.
Arms went up in the air. So
part of it was for the meme of it because we all love Luke. I wasn't that, But Ben says, they could amputate his leg. Everything could be fine. Don't do that, Ben.
Don't give me hope.
Don't give me hope.
Yeah.
So they amputate his leg anyway.
Yeah.
With a bone saw.
You gotta give it a shot.
Spider-Man reference.
Yeah.
I liked that though. I know we're sort of skipping ahead slightly, but I liked that. He died of straight up blood loss.
Yeah.
I think that's like a really cool thing that this show does really well.
And just that.
Sorry, how? What do you mean?
Like, he died of blood loss. You don't often see that in shows. And usually they just magically are able to survive having a limb cut off.
Right.
Whereas, you look at, what was Henry's brother's name? Was it Ben?
Yeah,
Who
that's
got
right.
shot in the leg? Yeah,
Benjamin,
he bled out to death. And that was from a gunshot wound. And typically
that was
in
in
any
the
sort
leg,
of show,
was it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. But typically in any sort of show, if someone takes a bullet or if someone has something cut off, usually they're fine. Like, it's a big deal, but it's not life-threatening. So as tragic as it was that Luke passed away, like my first note actually was this. Like I really like that. That's how his character passed away. It was very realistic.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
It's
like
so threatening too.
you've got the trauma of having your
Oh.
own legs sawn off, and
Yeah.
you still don't even make it. Like,
Yeah.
But that I loved that makes it so much more threatening.
yeah.
Like if you take a bite, it's not just a case of, okay, we're going to have to amputate to save your life. It's cool. We're going to have to cut your arm or your leg off, and hopefully that doesn't kill you.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it makes it so much more intense, and I love it.
Yeah.
There is a line there which we get from Luke at the end, and I'm sorry, I got to take
Yeah,
this
yeah.
because he's my boy.
Please.
So he's gesturing around, kind of can't really speak. They get a hold of his harmonica, and he says, "Keep the music alive."
Is that what he said?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's so true to his character. He's a
Yeah.
musician. It's all that he really cares about. And in a
And
world
you
where
didn't
everything's
even see the episode. There was one in season 9 where he was like, he's got his collection of instruments. He's fixing up old instruments that he's found and stuff like that. Which that was probably where I remembered it from the most. But yeah, obviously it was a part of other episodes as well. So it's definitely sort of a key part of his character.
You remember he had that whole thing with other dead guy. Come on, Alden. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where they had a
yeah.
duet together.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That was during something else very bad that was happening. But yeah, I mean, in a world where everything is dead and dying, keep the music alive, and that's
Definitely.
powerful.
long live Luke's legacy.
Indeed.
Yeah, for sure. And in the time skip at the end, actually, when the group is, or Magna's group are all there together, they've got his harmonica. They're like holding it, and I don't know if they're playing music with it. At the very least, I saw it in a set photo, and
Okay.
I would guess it was in the episode as well. But
Yeah. I didn't see it. Yeah,
okay, it might not have been because
I wasn't looking for it though. But
yeah,
I'd be
sure.
shocked if they didn't add it.
Yeah,
I hope they washed
nice
it.
little touch. Yeah, hopefully.
Tainted meat.
Yeah. So one thing with this, which I guess was potentially a bit of a missed opportunity, is that they mentioned that the Pamela sort of took all the doctors and they took all the meds away as well, and so that's kind of part of why Luke dies, is because they don't have any medical equipment to help him out with. Except for a bone saw, I guess they left that behind. But I feel like that if that had happened, ideally a few episodes ago, or at the very least if they had made a bit more of a deal of how Luke actually could have made it, but because they took all the medical supplies away, now that's caused someone to die. I feel like that would have really sort of made us hate Pamela a lot more and made it a lot more satisfying when she does get arrested later in the episode. So it's there, but it's just not directly mentioned necessarily. But anyway, that was just a thought. But far out, the acting, Dan
Yeah.
Fogler, all the rest of the group.
Can I just say
Absolutely,
though, like,
yeah.
amazing though it is, it's a very tricky scene to put so much emotional weight into. This is my note. So much emotional weight into great performances from the actors, but then for it to be in an opening scene, which we then have to brush aside to move on to the bigger story. I feel like this should have been like the ending scene to the last episode.
Oh, okay.
And leave you with that, and so it can
Yeah.
boom roll credits, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, and then you start the next episode. Because pretty much just from here, if you look at even Magna, it's like they're all tearing up. It's all terrible, and then along comes Carol and says, "We need to go," and they're just okay, and then off they go. You know?
Right.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, to an extent. I feel like because it's a sort of, I don't know how you want to grade it, sort of B tier character in the sense that he's not like a main character.
dare you.
He hasn't been in the show for the last like 27 episodes or something.
it's the real crime.
I could see the frustration in your eyes there when he said that.
Like, you know, if that was Rosita dying in the opening scene and then they just brushed it away, that would be a big deal. But I feel like it was enough that it's what it had to do was set up the stakes and say, all right, things are really serious and serious things are happening. But I feel like it was enough of a side character that it worked well enough for me.
Yeah.
But I definitely get your point, though. And part of that is why I almost like the idea of these last two episodes sort of being one long finale. It kind of feels like that to an extent. In which case, this would be almost the halfway point. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Luke was taken from us too soon. And look, I can only hope he gets his own series backstory thing, similar to how Andor is happening at the moment. Just how did Luke get on the road, all of that kind of...
I mean, you can't really say too soon. He's literally made it to the last episode.
Too soon.
You can't get much later than that. So yeah, awesome, great, intense way to start the episode. I liked, actually, just a small technical thing, is how the also starring and all the directed by and all those titles came up after Luke had died, and the sort of wave of that had kind of died down a little bit. Because if the titles had been coming up in like the middle of this intense scene,
not very tactful.
I don't know if you've seen any of Family Guy, but their text things take like up a whole third of the screen, and then big bulky blue letters. It's dreadful. So absolutely that. But look at this, like, it's clearly, they've started a new scene or whatever, but their eyes are all dry now. None of them are puffy eyed or snotty nosed or anything like that.
Okay.
And it's just straight on to the next scene.
Yeah.
So look, Magnus not even slightly upset anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So I wish that there'd been a cut to the next episode in between that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from, and I agree. But just to play devil's advocate, like, it almost sort of highlights the reality that they're in at the moment, where we've just lost someone, but we don't have time to grieve. We don't have time to.
That's fair.
To let this wash over us. We just have to brush it off right now and survive.
Mm.
I'm always saying this though. Have one line of somebody saying, "We got to go.
Yeah.
There's no time."
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
If they had that would have made that a lot more forgiving.
Well, for the Jules fans out there, they got done dirty, because as soon as she died, 20 seconds later, never mentioned again. But no.
Poor Jules.
Yeah, but I mean, one other thing I guess that I liked as an overall with this episode is it, in a lot of ways, felt like a best of Walking Dead moments, in that you get, and that was one of the things, is I guess the zombie attacks is you get one person just devoured by a horde, another person is bit amputated and then doesn't make it, and then with Rosita later, someone who gets bit and then you reveal the bite later. It's sort of like all the classic things from the show.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so I guess that's one other thing. But the music, even here, sort of right after that sinks in of Luke dying, then it really kicks into the next gear, and I feel like that almost does what you're asking for, Isaac, in the sense of saying, all right, we got to keep moving because we can't sit around, and the music really keeps the pace moving. It felt really good for me, and it sort of flows throughout the next scenes quite well, I thought.
Quick thing here, we got you remember in the episode before this where Judith looks up at Daryl and says, "Dad?"
Yeah.
We have the cool parallel here of him giving her blood in the same way.
Yeah.
Which I like a lot.
Very cool.
Just like a old... You remember back in the day, like how Rick just wanted to keep on giving blood, and it was making him sick, and he was too weak, and
yeah, good stuff. And that was one of those things that's like, that's realistic. You can't just keep giving blood. Yeah. Well, we've got Mercer breaking out.
Which we all sort of laughed at.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's, editing. You can't take too long being realistic, but it's literally like, get down. Okay, I'm ready. Boom.
Yeah.
They give him half a second to...
And I can't remember if it was yourself, Ben, or you guys, like, when we joked about it. I'm like, get down, what?
Yeah, boom.
yeah. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Could you repeat? Ooh.
Yeah, so that was just funny. But yeah, nice little scene. Not really much else to say about that. Rosita, Gabriel. So basically from here on out, it does cut between a few different scenes, but I've categorized things as far as the different characters' storylines, because otherwise we'd have to keep jumping around a bit. So is that all right with you guys? Have you got any notes on?
That's all good.
All right, cool.
We'll follow your lead.
You just jump in with notes, but jumping to Rosita, Gabriel, and Eugene saving the babies. Good, intense scene. One thing that people have been saying online, which is I definitely agree with, is that if you try and find the shot of Eugene and Gabriel first walking in with the guns. It looks like a shot from Pulp Fiction because Eugene's in his suit and tie, and
Yeah.
Father Gabriel's always done it nicely, and it literally looks like John Travolta with the long hair and Sam Jackson next to him. So that was just a funny thing, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. But
Great acting from Judith in that scene. Previous.
oh yeah, definitely. Great. I think it's before where you're up to here.
It's hard because when you
Yeah, it
hover,
is
it doesn't show you.
Yeah.
Oh, R.I.P. that guy.
R.I.P. that guy. We'll come back to that in a sec. So yeah, I mean, great intense scene of the babies, all that. See, look at him.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I can't unsee that now.
Those babies having
Yeah.
gunshots fired right around them. Deaf.
Yeah,
Deaf babies. Also, I was thinking about this on my way home. You have this scene here. There's an upside down playpen, like flipped, and the children are protected underneath it. This little girl is not acting. She's screaming at this zombie who's
Yeah.
reaching out. Those are real
The
tears.
child labor laws around that.
So I don't know if they had. Actually, let's see if they're separate shots or not. But because if we see them together, yeah, no, it looks like they're both in the same
Babies
shot.
don't know how to act.
Yeah,
That's tragic if that's the case.
yeah.
It made for an intense scene at least. I mean,
Oh,
babies cry all the time, so I guess you just wait till they're, in a bad mood and roll the camera.
Well, we also know a bunch of like behind the scenes as far as like AMC's like the backup things and all the people they've got to handle
Yeah,
everything.
sure.
So they'd 100% be like a trauma counselor on set.
For
and
sure.
Like, yeah, they'd be all right.
Have a dummy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was this note I've made? I'm trying to read my own.
It's not even handwriting.
Rosita going. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So this is later. I'm just following these characters' storylines when they're out in the alley and escaping. I was kind of confused at first as to like why is Rosita going last after those guys? Like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing?
Women and children first.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing that does explain it, at least they could have put a line in there about it, is that Rosita's got the baby on the front pouch and the other two have it on a back pouch. So if they go last, then the zombie's just going to grab the baby if it's on the back pouch.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of made sense. And, equality and everything. But it's like, come on, Rosita's a mum. Like, let her go first. And she was telling them to go first anyway. But, like... Yeah, I guess it was just in the sense that it felt like, they're forcing it in order to have her go last for the sake of the scene and what they want to happen. But yeah,
I'm interested in this, particularly because both of you had gripes with the fake Glenn death.
Yep.
Yeah,
I wondered how you'd feel about this type of death, where you see her falling down into the pool of walkers and then
falling down onto the crash mat, which you can
Yeah.
clearly see. They
Yeah.
haven't even edited it out.
there's got to be something behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's subtle enough
No, it
to
isn't.
an extent. But
Even
like,
I noticed that, and I'm
Yeah.
not you guys are the ones who are aware of all this sort of stuff. I'm not, and I saw it.
Yeah, so that was funny at least. I mean, all this stuff, all these things are nitpicks. Like, I love this scene; it's so intense.
Yeah.
The music is going all for it with the orchestra, the drums. You're getting these awesome drum hits.
Do you want to play? Do you want to bring that up?
let's see.
Hang on. Just a
I
little
can't
sample
remember
there
that
for
now.
you.
Yeah, a little sample. But to an extent, even if you hear that, it feels like a
Yeah.
real full orchestra. The way it kind of builds up.
Yeah, I remember feeling that for sure.
And I'll bring it up again in a sec if you keep the scene playing. But yeah, I mean, that was just funny with the crash mat. Anyway,
It is a little bit of a trope as well. The person climbing up being just out of reach and still reaching forward anyway, when you should have used your energy just to climb up a bit higher.
True. Yeah. In answer to your question, I didn't mind it because they resolved it within 5 seconds. Yeah, there's the
Yep,
mattress.
there it is.
Have a listen to these drums when they come in when she comes up. Oh, maybe that's not the point I was thinking of actually. There we
There
go.
you go.
That it is
They
very
have a few of
disappointing.
those.
I'm
So
doubting
visible.
seeing like I'm not mean to be a negative Nelson here, but
Yeah.
like look at all the clothes she's got on, and yet she has a bite mark through all of
She's
that.
got like 7 hoodies on.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's enough zombies around. Yeah, sure.
Fine, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. At least it makes sense that it would be covered up and not everyone would see it if they, just one of them grabs their hand on the hood, pulls it back, another one bites, and then they let go and it falls back into place.
There's a really cool visual there as well as she jumps onto the downpipe there. You see like just all like
Yeah, that doesn't look
flooding
fake. Hey?
with yeah.
I mean, that if they are some CGI walkers in the background there, bravo to the VFX team because it doesn't look CGI at all.
Mm. And then the variant walker climbs up on the bus and jumps onto the pole as well.
yeah, wait for me. But I like that. I mean, that was a big moment. We all, well, I don't know, how did you guys feel when she fell? I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And her then coming up and being okay, but the fact that they paid it off later with her actually getting bit, it worked for me. It didn't feel too cheap like how we felt with the Glenn Dumpster situation.
Well, we said it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like, when it happened, I'm like, what's the bet she's bit?
Yeah. You were on it straight away.
Yeah, it was kind of obvious, but I was hoping it wouldn't have been the case. So I like Rosita. She was a wicked character.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the other thing with this, another podcast called it the Iron Price, like from Game of Thrones, is that
Yeah.
you can have a bit of an unrealistic scene of her fighting her way out from these walkers. Like, if you fall on your back, you're like, oh, you're going to knock the wind out of you. You're not going to be able to fight off 50 walkers after that. But because they did pay it off with a death after that, it kind of makes it like, oh, that's all right.
Maybe that's the reason why the baby was tied at the front, because they're like, we need
Oh,
to have
that
her
as
fall
well.
onto her back.
100%.
So
Yeah.
that's why we
Yeah.
need to have the baby on front. So
Yeah.
because oh boy,
Can
No
you?
question.
Oh, I don't know if I want to say this. This is very dark.
I think we all know what you're about to say, so you don't have to say it.
Do you? Well, you probably do. Isaac, do you have a guess?
I don't
It's
know.
very dark.
You can
Yeah.
sense it. Here's my clap thing for the editing tool later.
Can you imagine if they just went in a completely different, really, really messed up direction and little baby Coco dies there instead of Rosita? Like, she gets away because they take the baby.
No.
Can you imagine if
Oh.
how messed up that would be?
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's another thing I'll say about Luke's death is I like that at least Luke and Jules went out at the same time, and
Yeah.
like there's parts throughout the show where it's about the grief of one character losing someone beloved to them, but I like that we didn't get that too much this episode.
Yes. Yep.
That there wasn't anyone left devastated. The person who their life revolves around has just been killed, and then that's the end. Roll the credits.
See ya. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rosita, especially if you go with what we've been told about, apparently they broke up, her and Gabriel.
Apparently.
She's leaving a baby behind, but there's enough people around who are
Yeah.
going to take care of it that it's not the end of the world.
Still very tragic.
It is.
Yeah.
I have a whole bracket of notes around that particular scene.
Yeah,
If that's good for
yeah,
now
let's
or
go
later,
into
or-
that now. Yeah, so when she reveals the bite, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So pretty fair to say that Rosita is the big ticket character death.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
So
well, behind Luke, of course.
yeah. Anyway, I think it's necessary as far as like a bigger character death. People might have thought that it was too safe or whatever. That's usually the word that gets thrown around if everybody makes it.
Yeah. Right.
Like I'm a big fan of like people just holding hands and walking into the sunset anyway. But like if we had to have anybody, I'm not saying it had to be Rosita, but like a good pick as far as one that was.
Sure. She's been around since season 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I spoke about like I personally accept it way better when it's not a stupid mistake, but it's actually battling your way out or saving someone else or all of that. So that did well. I'm glad we got a very slow send off with the bite versus her just falling and getting eaten up like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm glad that Coco didn't get got. So that's really great. The whole thing with Eugene, I'm glad it's you at the end. I thought that was very sweet given their history and everything. It absolutely, and this is the point where I'm sitting in between these two gentlemen. We're watching this, and my eyes are going stinging red with all of the
Yeah.
salty tears. And I'm saying to myself, like, just don't. You can brim, but don't like full on start gasping and because it absolutely tore my heart out
Yeah.
when we see little baby Kaka lying on the bed, and she gets like walked over and lies down next to her. And I'm like, oh. It just hits different when you got children. I'm telling you, go back and watch it. The very thought of your kid carrying on because you couldn't be there to take care of them, and you passing on, even though Coco's going to be in great hands and all that, there's something about knowing that as a parent, it would have been just dreadful for her, and just the thought of that. If Shelby, my wife, was there with us, she would have been like inconsolable, inconsolable, and then that would have tipped me over the edge. So I'm glad that wasn't the case.
There are a few things in this show where I'm kind of looking forward to going back and watching it down the line when I do have kids. Because even Rick's story all revolves around how far would you go to build a better future for your son and to save your family, to keep them safe, all that. And from what I've heard, at least, it definitely hits differently if you've got kids and you can apply it to your own situation. Yeah.
I would very much like that Father Gabriel was there. He kind of gave her like a little last rites, if you will.
Yeah, that was nice.
We'll come back to the send-off in a bit, I reckon, because there's a bit more to say there. But at least as far as the reveal, I really liked how they didn't treat the audience like complete idiots. For Eugene, right from the moment he says, "I bet you can't wait for summer," he's talking about the future. That it's coming. And he didn't even say it. It was like, he made it obvious to Rosita what he was trying to ask. And then he said, "I was here when you fell, did," and she just gives him the look. And I like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can piece two and two together and you can work it out, because then she shows the bite, but they didn't make it. They didn't slap you in the face with it.
No.
Well, even the question like, "I can't wait for summer, can you?"
Yeah.
That itself was like, oh no.
Well, I know what you're really asking.
Yeah.
But it was I liked that it was done that way on multiple fronts. Like it was, like I think that's just good storytelling. Like it worked really well. But like all the reasons you've also just pointed out as well, like it wasn't a slap in the face when she revealed the bite, and it was just really good storytelling, I thought.
Yeah, and just really emotional. The acting and everything really good. The look from Rosita was really powerful. And that's one of those things that like you can write the scene however you want, but it really relies on that facial expression coming across, right?
When she even shows the bite and he just like has to stand up and take a lap around the room just to like make sense of it all. It's,
and that she says, "I don't want everyone to know yet, so pull it together." Really nice.
Which is, people should know better in that world. Like you get bit, you tell the proper people, because like what if she like that night had a fever and like turned in her sleep, and then she's like a liability.
I feel like she would, like, now that Eugene knows she's not like going to go to sleep in a room with the baby by herself or whatever, like as long as someone knows who's responsible, I think it makes it a bit alright. And I'm pretty sure for the rest of the episode, like, that group stay together anyway. It's not like Eugene just runs off after that. So that kind of helps.
Because awesome that she was at the banquet. I thought that was great.
Yeah, definitely. And in that scene, we get sort of there's just a little melody for the finale that hasn't been used before. That comes when Rosita reveals her bite, and it's used in a few other scenes as well. But just really nice music, and that's, I've always said that about the show. Just really they make good use of themes, and they definitely know how to pull on your heartstrings.
Oh yeah.
Going actually back in time a little bit. I've mixed up the order of my notes a little bit here, but back to Daryl and the hospital group. when he blocks her in. That's sort of an obvious reference to Shane
beautiful.
blocking the door and everything. So just nice little things like that. But yeah, it's so funny when it cuts back to the group and there's just two completely random extras getting pulled into the herd. It's just one of those things like, oh, classic Walking Dead. Like, just give us some completely, like last episode or 2 episodes ago, they couldn't even show the people's faces. Now you literally introduce them for like 5 seconds of screen time and have them die. And there was actually one guy who you pulled up on the screen before who I thought was Tommy, Yumiko's brother, because it looks kind of like him. And he literally, I think I would put money on that he's only in one shot of him getting pulled into the horde. And I thought, is that Tommy? But no, it wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, it's the sort of thing like that's the opportunity to bring back Scott and those other random Alexandria faces that we recognize. I like that they did that with Beatrice in the season 10 finale. She sort of got eaten. She was one of those Oceanside faces who you kind of knew, but she was just an extra, but recognizable at least. So yeah, I feel like it's the finale. This is the time. Even Diane, the Archer lady, like she was at the banquet at the end. Yeah, she's cool and everything, but like you could have killed her off and just for an intense moment. It's the
Cold
end of
as
the show.
ice.
But you're killing off other random extras, like. Because for me, that pulls me out of the episode. I go, oh, okay, it's just like
I don't
some
know who that
random who's
was.
here now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I see where you're
I
coming
don't
from.
know.
Yeah.
it just seems very convenient that there's always some random person who we've never seen before, right when someone needs to get pulled into a group of zombies. Yeah.
That's a very valid point.
It made me laugh a bit. The variant walker, again, a bit of a reference to season one, smashing
With the rock.
window with the rock. That's really the biggest thing variants had to do in this episode. So I'm kind of, I mean, they opened the gates in the last episode, so that's big enough. But I'm hoping that they've introduced it as a setup for some of the spin-offs, because that definitely, if they don't do anything with it after this, it'll still be a bit random of why did they introduce that. But yeah.
I almost think that they covered their bases enough. Like it was a bit haphazard, but I even had somebody who I was speaking with over the internet telling them that we do this show, and he was like, oh yeah, do they ever address like the smart zombies, the ones from the first season? I was like, well, it's funny you ask, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So we'll see. But I'm hoping, though, they've got something planned in the long term with the spin-off shows, that they ideally an explanation for it, at the very least, just to do more with it, because it's a cool idea. Yeah. And again, the music for this, when they're running out, speaking of cinematography, when they're running out of the hospital, that sort of at least feels like one long shot of them all running, and you can see where all the characters are. You can see what the stakes are. It doesn't feel like they cheaped out on that too much, which is quite nice. It just made it intense, and the music was really going for it with the orchestra. So yeah, it was cool.
could I nudge in with something here?
Yeah.
Speaking of cheaping out,
Yeah.
kind of, but so we have a shot here of Lydia's getting her arm bandaged up.
Yeah.
I tried to pause it here. This is the
You
most...
see the bottom of the arm for literally like half a second or 1 inch or whatever.
So we had a conversation back in the day with Aaron McLean, the VFX supervisor, and he was talking about a shot where they could have done with Aaron. They really wanted to like show the bare stump is effectively. And I'm sitting here going like, you cowards, come on, show us Lydia's stump, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like if it's fresh and raw, it's probably easier than one that's all healed up as far as to animate, you know? Because you could make it like messy and bloody and like not as neat as like a healed wound stump might be.
I mean, they do enough with the zombies, you'd think.
True. So, yeah, I kind of just wish that we got the view of it and then he starts bandaging it up.
Right, okay.
Just to really seal it in. Look at her. She's lost her arm and look at what we can do. Because then I felt like the pan upward from that straight away. And now it's like, oh, look.
Yeah, like hold on it for another second or so just to like...
Yeah,
because it felt like, don't look at that. Like, we're panning away.
Don't look. Yeah. And then he goes to give her a hug with his Guts
Oh,
jacket
man.
on. It's just,
He should have taken that off 3 scenes ago, and he's wearing it for like the whole episode, standing around covered in guts for no reason.
it's gonna get in her hair and everything. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, that's like at the minimum, it's gross. It's going to get in her hair or whatever. At most, she's got an open wound and
Yeah.
you've got like, yeah.
It's gotta smell terrible too. Like, dude,
That's literally the whole point of it is
I
that
know.
it smells bad. Like, come on. Yeah.
Lydia warmed on me. All right, you happy?
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
Are you
wow.
happy?
Wow. All right. Please do elaborate.
Name rhymes with encyclopedia. So. No, like sure. I guess I thought that she was being back in the day, that selfish kid trope who like I don't like you, you don't like me, we're never going to be friends. This is early days where she
Yeah,
doesn't want to
sure.
conform and everything,
Mm.
and then just makes silly mistakes and gets people hurt and
Mm.
similar Carol route, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but no, yeah.
And there's a couple of other characters who sort of get full circles, but with this conversation here between Lydia and Aaron, I like that it sort of calls back to when she first arrived at Hilltop, and her mum had always been telling her like, no, those communities like they might think they're safe or they're under control, but they always fall apart. And so now she's at a point where it feels like, oh, now it's finally happening. All the people I care about are dying. Like all Jerry and Elijah, they're out there. They're just going to be dead, and this whole place is falling apart. So it's good to kind of call back to that, and
Yeah.
then obviously she gets proven wrong by the end of the episode, which is just a nice little tie-in. Yeah.
I like that, and I thought that she was actually going to say that too. Like in that little specific scene, I thought she was going to say like, "My mum was right."
Yeah.
And I'm
That
glad
could have
they
been
didn't.
nice. No?
It would have been a cool, like, nail in the coffin. This is actually what we're doing. We're tying it back to this.
Yeah.
But it would have undone a lot of her growth
Right.
for her to actually verbalize, "Oh, my mum was right." I wouldn't have liked it. I like how they did it now. Like you say, she's calling back to that. Yep, mum was right, but she's not actually saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like Alpha from the grave, don't call me mother. Or whatever.
I am your alpha.
Yeah.
The only note I've got from this scene of Negan and Maggie is that he calls Pamela Pammy.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic Negan.
Ah.
So a good little thing. I mean, we can talk about it even later in the episode when Negan. Well, here he apologizes to her, and then later Maggie sort of says her thoughts once she's had a chance to process it. Yeah, and I'm quite happy with this. One thing I guess I'll say with this, with regards to how they're treating the spin-offs, is I really like that they gave us the full conclusion here. It's
Yeah.
come full circle, wrapped in a bow.
Yes.
This is the end. And we'll talk more big picture later, but I like that these spin-offs to an extent are almost feeling like Star Wars or whatever, how you've got all novels for the expanded universe. I kind of want that from this show in the sense that the Walking Dead is the full story. You get a proper ending, and then if you want to read the novels and some fan fiction and if you want to see what happens afterwards, they ride off into the sunset and here's the other adventures they go on. Then that's there for you if you want it, but you still get a complete story in the main thing. They're not leaving major plot points to finish in the spin-offs, for the most part at least.
It's
So,
a little
yeah.
counterintuitive though, only because we know that they're going to get a show, Dead City or whatever.
Yeah, which
Cool-
was
cool
Isle
name.
of the Dead, which was arguably a cooler name.
Yeah,
but I'm happy enough.
One too many people can't spell Isle.
yeah, that's no one was Googling it right, so they needed to change it.
But from the end of this episode, when we can talk about that chat later, but it's made very clear that she doesn't want to see him ever again because she'll just see Glenn and she doesn't want to keep remembering Glenn like that.
Yeah,
So
to an extent at least, but at least she says you can stay here. You and Annie, who Annie we don't see this episode either.
Oh.
So yeah, jump
Yeah, I
in.
didn't pick up on that. I don't know. Did she say that she didn't want to see him ever again though? Like she said, like if I can't look at you for a day or whatever, that's why.
Yeah.
Something to that extent, wasn't it?
It was more like that. Like she said, you can be here I'll be okay with it, but there might just be some days where I just can't look at you.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So to an extent, but yeah, you could definitely take from it that, yeah, she really just doesn't want to see him. But at least they've got enough communities now. If he's in the Commonwealth and she's in Hilltop, it's not going to be too much of a problem anyway.
Right.
Until they go to New York together.
Mm.
Well, one note, which is, I guess, a funny thing, but kind of an annoying thing, which you can say about a few scenes this episode, is just when a really important line is mumbled or said with an accent that makes it hard to understand. And so in their next chat, when Maggie says, "I've been trying to ask myself if I can forgive you,"
Yeah.
and in her Georgian accent, she says, "I can." And I didn't know if she said I can or I can't, because in an English accent or something, they're very different words. But can, like they sound very, very similar.
I thought at first I thought it was the positive. I was like, now I know that I can't. I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you could have just worded it differently
Yeah.
or something. And a similar thing with Judith when which we'll get to. Well, that's my next note anyway. Is her sort of waking up and she tells Daryl about why Michonne left, that she found clues to Rick, but it's just mumbled. Even the second time watching it, I didn't fully get like what she had said or how she had said it. Which is fine for some lines. Like there's Lydia kind of mumbles something about Jerry still being out there, and it's hard to hear, but it's like, you can work out what she's talking about, and if not, it doesn't really matter because you get the gist of the scene. But when it's a pivotal line and the whole scene revolves around that, it's pretty important to make sure that we can understand it, even on like a bad TV speaker, which most people are going to be watching it on. So yeah, it's just a little thing. Little ass kicker, great callback.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. That's one of those things that really makes you think back to even straight after the next episode, after Laurie's died. Right away he goes, "Well, we're not going to let this baby die too," and goes off to find baby formula and like makes it his mission. So all those things, and then all the times over the years where he's sort of saved her, even back when he was little redneck Daryl. It's a nice little callback. It has a lot of weight to it.
Yeah.
And okay, so when in the last episode when she said protect the estates, I thought, she's just talking about the estates, but then there's a sign that's actually called the estates. I just thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if that's a normal thing or not for a place to actually be called the estates, but
maybe it's a small cluster of expensive estates.
Yeah, that's it. There was one thing, because obviously we were kind of everyone was hoping and theorizing, is Rick going to come back in this episode? At the end of that scene where Judith is telling Daryl and Carol about her parents and they're talking about Rick and Michonne, the music builds up.
Yeah.
You hear a gunshot from outside the window, and everyone, and it turns out it's just the Commonwealth people shooting the people coming over the fence. That you hear a gunshot, and it like the music builds up. Everyone's looking outside. It cuts to like close-ups of people looking out the window. For half a second there, that was like, oh, this is gonna be Rick or someone coming in, and it was just a bit strange. That then it's like, oh, okay, no, that's just a random scene. I don't know if you guys thought that at all.
I didn't pick up on it.
No, me neither.
Fair enough.
I'm not as familiar with the music cues as you are.
It wasn't even a specific music cue at all. It was just the feel of the music. It felt like, something big's coming.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm glad it was just me then.
I didn't actually know this, and tell me if this is not correct, but did Daryl not know that Michonne had gone off looking for Rick?
No.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And probably if you go back to season 10, episode 15, our podcast, I remember talking about it, that why didn't Judith tell him? And I think she mentions, and this is a whole nother thing we'll get into, that she at first didn't even want to mention that Michonne had left at all because she was worried that Daryl was going to leave too. And then she says again in this episode, I didn't want to tell you that Rick was alive out there because I was worried that you would leave. And then at the end of the episode, that's exactly what he does. He abandons her with no other parental figures.
Poor Judith.
We'll come back to that definitely. But yeah, anyways. So that was the thing that we were definitely talking about at the time, but it's been quite a while since then since they last mentioned it, I guess.
So here we go with this estates scene. And again, I'm hoping you guys can spin this for me in a way that will make it better. This is maybe save Daryl's speech, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I can't really get on board with, quite often people have the conversation with the stormtroopers in Star Wars, with like, or just the entire Empire in general, like, how were there so many people on board with doing so many bad things? Surely you can only take the whole, just following orders so far, people do have consciences. This whole scene here where you've got these people rattling on the gates saying, please let us in, they could so easily, there's only a pretty small crowd. You could very easily, the dead are so far away, and yet they've all got their guns trained on them. And so you've got Pamela here who's all unhinged and who's lost the plot. And I would give you maybe her general as well, the other lady in charge. But everyone else, you're going to have standing there watching these people begging for their lives, even shooting people who try and come over the top.
Yeah, like, okay, sure, you can't open the gates because zombies might come in. Sure.
Right.
You don't have to shoot the people who are climbing over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as far as like the whole trope thing, I can't get on board with that many people.
Yeah.
Having such a reverse humanitarian spirit and saying, no, you're not coming in just because some dead might come in. If they do come in, shoot them,
And for me, it just makes Pamela a bit of a weaker villain because there's no real logic behind it. Like, sure, at the end of the scene when the group, the herd are actually approaching the gate and they're literally right there, sure, then you might not want to open the gates because they'll all flood in. But like if you had opened the gate 5 minutes ago, it would have been fine. There weren't even any zombies around at all.
That's what I'm talking about. So as far as the motivations, like you say, a weaker villain because it's not very believable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
If you're down to the last wire and it's just her and someone else like barricading a door, not letting anyone in, I go, wow, you're selfish and everything, but you're your own crazy person.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole military standing behind it,
And it was nothing like, if too many people are on this boat, it's going to sink. Something like that might have made sense.
Right.
But like, no, nothing. Yeah. So I've got just as many positives to say about this scene, at least, than negatives. I feel like they balance each other out just enough. Gabriel, his moment was very epic. And I like that brings him full circle as well, because right at the start of the apocalypse, his big thing was that there were people banging on the outside of the church, let us in, and he was too scared. He kept the doors closed, but now he walks up to the gate, says, I'm opening these gates no matter what, and I'll kill anyone who tries to stop me. Really good. His dialogue and everything.
And one of the people has just enough time to etch into the ground, you'll burn for this.
Yeah. So, good little moment. And Daryl, what are you doing? Like, we need more of that in the show. Just like talk straight to someone. Say, come on, man, seriously? Why? So good little moment, and then of course he gets to say the title line.
Oh, can we put the volume up on this? The visuals are only partly there.
Okay.
The way he says this is like chills.
Yeah.
Literal chills.
We got one enemy. We ain't the Walking Dead.
Which actually ties back to the first and only other time that The Walking Dead has been said in the show, which is when they're in the barn and Rick's telling the story and he says, we are The Walking Dead. And Daryl straight after says, we ain't them. And so now he's saying, we ain't The Walking Dead. A little tie-in.
I remember that scene, but I'd forgotten that Daryl had said that. I like that little tie-in. It's beautiful.
So, it is what it is. It's a bit cheesy to say the name of the show, but like, whatever. It's
It
cool
fit.
moment. It
Yeah,
fit,
it did
exactly.
fit.
Especially that the music dipped just underneath it, so it's like, let's just really make this line punch.
Definitely.
I actually thought he said, "We aim at The Walking Dead."
Yeah. Again, there's accents and everything.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, even there, like playing it the second time, I still wasn't 100% sure what he said outside of The Walking Dead.
Right. Yeah. That's fair enough.
And what do you know? Everyone got in with plenty of time, before the thing could shut.
Yeah.
So
Although the other funny thing with that, there's Jerry at the back. I didn't notice him in
Oh,
the wide
really?
shot the first time. And Elijah's probably in there too.
In the group, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
gotcha.
group because he comes in.
I thought you meant they just like shut the gates on him.
Oh,
Like,
no,
there's
no.
Jerry.
What was I even saying? Now I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's right. Mercer arresting Pamela. That you can literally see the herd of walkers all coming up. These people are about to get eaten. They turn around, let us in now, let us in. And it's a cool moment. I liked it. But Pamela, I'm putting you under arrest for the crimes against the people of this Commonwealth. And in the background, the people all getting eaten alive while he's making a speech. It's just funny timing, all this stuff. But I like seeing Walker Lance. That was good to bring him back.
Jim Carrey one last
Jim
time.
Carrey, in the
Shifty
flesh.
Jim.
You did say, Ben, that he
Yeah.
got shot in the neck, so there is the possibility of him coming back. So
Yeah, they wouldn't have done that by accident. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I have a feeling this actually, when she goes up and is about to get eaten by him, that mirrors Carol's death in the comics. I
Okay.
think she does that, goes up to a fence and just puts her face in front of a walk and gets eaten. So there's something, but I liked it. What did you think, Isaac?
I wish I knew why. Is it what she's just so defeated and then
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, she's just lost control of everything. Like, she's just been arrested, and like Negan says at the end of the scene, for a person like that, it's worse than death. Getting locked up and
right?
not being in power anymore. So that, combined with the emotion of seeing Lance, who meant a lot to her to some extent.
I'd like to know what their exact relationship was.
Yeah, they never came
Yeah.
back to that.
No.
There's a lot of things they never came back to, but that's all right.
Because I swear there was a line about them being brother and sister, or like adopted brother and sister
Well,
or something.
At the very least, yeah, they talk about like for our whole lives you've done this.
Yeah,
and
right.
Maybe they say since we were kids, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. My main problem with the cinematography for this whole thing, I was saying earlier, just punch out, please. Give us.
And they've been really good at doing that for a lot of this season, especially some of the earlier episodes. I thought they did punch out a lot more than they usually do, but
But like, if you look at like pretty much each and every one of these shots, it's just, except for obviously the,
the wide shot.
the long shots, but so many of these. Yeah, every action shot is just so up close. And I get
Yeah.
you're trying to, there's one thing you're trying to create like the sense of havoc and everything's claustrophobic and all these bodies jammed up against one another. But we've also seen it done in really great ways.
Well, I mean, really, it comes down to budget to a large extent as well. It's a lot easier to, show a couple of people crammed in than to show a wide shot and have all the extras doing that for every take.
Yeah.
True budget, but Ben and I were watching the Rings of Power, where there's a pretty similar scene just with a battle, and it gives you the exact feel you want, but also it's like,
Really smooth camera work and Although that's not really a fair comparison
at
because
all.
they spent an absolutely ridiculous amount of money on that show. So that's all right. This show, when they're kicking or putting the fuel everywhere, I thought that was so funny, that Lydia, because she's lost her arm. She all she can do is kick it over. Does what she can to help.
I actually didn't put that connection together. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. But there was also some
Sparta
cool
kick.
sound design with when they're blaring the speakers with Connie, feeling the
Yeah.
vibration of it. There you go. That's
Even you've got Elijah wiring up left and right into the speaker, and you see him place one in, and then like you hear like the contact make. If you've ever plugged in speaker wire before, you know
Yeah.
exactly what I mean. But yeah, cool
yeah,
stuff. Cool track as well that they used.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Were you guys familiar with that music at all?
I've forgotten what it is now that I'm.
Cult of Personality, I think.
You've gone
Is
and
that
looked
right?
it up.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. I thought the song was by One Republic, but it's by Fleetwood Mac, the one later in the episode. So, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to pop music. But someone on Reddit pointed out that this song is either the first or the middle track on a few different albums, but it's never the last one. So there's a little logic issue for you there, but you know that doesn't matter at all. It's just it makes a good scene. What did you guys feel about the big explosion being what saves the day?
Terminator 2 scene.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that said before.
I've often heard, like, just in different outlets, never light a zombie on fire because it doesn't destroy their brain, and then you've just lit something on fire that's going to walk towards you. So,
Oh, true.
I like that.
but look,
There you go. There's one walking right there. Yeah.
if you're going with what the dude from the CDC was saying in season 1, like if the actual air turns to whatever and you get disintegrated, I guess it's going to destroy the brain. So,
You'd hope so.
Well, we saw the first few layers get disintegrated. I thought that was pretty cool.
it was a sick effect.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
well, that's where the budget went.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And like they've done a great job. It looks decent for a CGI explosion. It's never going to look perfectly real unless you actually blow up a whole city, which they definitely didn't have the budget for. But it looked good. I'm not in love with just the fact that they did a big explosion.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's more satisfying ways to do it rather than just going out with a huge bang. But it was all right. I wasn't offended by it.
True. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
yeah.
in the same boat.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, but especially we've had moments like when Rick riles up all the Alexandrian people to take out the Horde. Yes, there is an explosion there that sort of finishes off the rest of them, but like it's the people all coming together and fighting that probably takes the biggest chunk out.
And that's also the most exciting part of it.
Exactly. That's the main thing, that's the most exciting part. So I feel like they could have given this episode an extra 20 minutes or so and given us one last big action scene that wasn't just people running away, but people actually fighting. But yeah, look, it works well enough. And that probably would have blown the budget out even more. Who knows?
Yeah.
Pardon the explosion pun there.
I would have liked that, and I would have liked Pamela to have been involved in it and dying. Because I love the theory that I had. Do you remember the variant that got stabbed with the knife that just...
Kept walking. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea what happened to it.
Just kept walking.
My theory or my hope was that that variant would show up and take the knife out and use it on someone.
Oh, for sure,
So I think that would have been cool if they were all banding together and fighting. Like, I don't know, maybe Pamela tries to redeem herself, go, you know what, I screwed up. I made some really bad mistakes. I'm going to join you in the fight. Let's save what's left of this community. Then all of a sudden, old mate Varian pops up and says, lol, jokes.
Or even if it wasn't that, even if... Mercer's got her arrested in the corner over here, and then this walker slips past and stabs her. Like,
even that would have been great.
Yeah. Either way, at least then not that she has to die necessarily, but at least it wouldn't be our people not having any mercy and just ruthlessly killing her. It's like, oh, we were trying to keep her alive, and this walker just come out of nowhere and stabbed her.
Did a backflip and shivved her.
No, not again.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it enough already, but that's just one of those things that has been a big problem this season, setting up things like the walker picking up the knife and then just completely forgetting about it. That was small enough that it's not a huge deal, but Oceanside was never mentioned again this episode. We were hoping there would be something like that, not even in the epilogue. There was literally the mid-season finale cliffhanger ended on Oceanside. He's tossing the coin cut to black. Oh,
And
what's going to
now
happen
nothing.
to Oceanside?
Yeah.
They didn't mention it until
Ever-
Luke shows up
yeah.
and just says it in an offhand comment, and then that's
Mm.
it. Yeah, like I
Very
it doesn't
poorly
seem
done.
like they're even aware of what they're communicating to the audience, what they're
No.
setting up and forgetting to pay off. Like, yeah. So that's just one of those overall season things. There wasn't too much of that in this episode, but I guess overall, that's kind of the only thing that I was let down a bit by in this episode was that it didn't. It gave us enough. I'm happy with it, but it didn't give us everything we could
Yeah.
have wanted. It didn't pay off every
Yeah, definitely.
loose end, and give us all the things that we were like, we were giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying, oh, maybe they'll pay this off. Maybe we're not supposed to know yet. And there were just some things like that which never came back, and so I was like, oh, okay, is what it is, I guess.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
I've taken so long to say this.
Yeah.
Would you be able to move your pop filter down a bit?
Sure.
Yeah, being a special, no, just the pop filter rather.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
no, there we
Is
go.
that better?
There, that better? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Sorry about that for everyone on YouTube. Now you can see my.
Ben
my
manages
mouth
to
as
do this where like I will bring my wife in here to sit down in the chair and like make sure is everything okay, and then Ben sits in a way that's completely obscured by the mic.
well. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So, any other notes on Maggie and Negan? Happy with that?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get the exact shot again. Maybe I will, maybe I'll not. But there's this. Oh, there you go. Kind of. There's this absolute defeated look on on Negan's face, which I just really like. Where you know he's tried just about everything in the previous scene to say, "Look, I'm just so very sorry. I'll do what I." Oh, look at that. That's the look of a defeated man. Poor guy.
In Negan's words, there's that look I was waiting for. Whatever he
Yeah.
says to Rick when he's trying to get him to have the
Careful
defeated
how you
face.
looking at me.
Yeah. So yeah, nice enough. I mean, we could have the only thing I guess with Negan is when he walks past later when they're in the having dinner, he should have been walking with Annie just to show us
Yeah.
that Annie's there at
Yeah.
least.
Right.
Because that was a bit weird that she didn't show up. But
No, was she dead? Like, do we know?
no, she's not.
we don't know, do
She's
we?
supposed to be just alive and living happily with him in Commonwealth, as far as I'm aware, at least. The one other thing, I guess, cinematography wise, this shot here, and probably same with Negan when it comes back to him. At the end of the conversation, it cuts to this like a very long lens close up of them, and it's just not a very flattering angle. For me, like some of the shots are all right, but it doesn't feel as intimate because it feels like the camera's, across the field and zooming in on them instead of being 2 feet away from them in the middle of the conversation. That's just a very technical nitpick from me.
Is that now or later?
Yeah, this shot, like, I don't know, it just doesn't look very flattering in my opinion. It would have looked a bit nicer if it was a bit closer and more zoomed out.
I kind of disagree. This is maybe the one time
Yeah.
where I reckon the punched in, like you can't see maybe any of the background. It's all nicely
I
blurred
understand
away.
why it's a close-up shot. It's more just the choice of lens. Like they've gone with a long lens and put the camera far away instead of going with a wide lens and putting it close up. In which case you get the same framing, but it just shapes the face differently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm glad that didn't stand out to you guys. That's just.
I've said this many times. Like, I'm not the camera guy.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 or 3 things that I have picked up camera wise
Sure.
throughout this whole podcast journey.
That's fine. And the thing is, like, if it doesn't stand out to people watching the show, then like that's good. That's as it should be. Sunday dinner. I don't know if it is Sunday, but it's a nice.
It just
looks
feels like a
like
Sunday.
It feels like a tie-in
Sunday
to how
roast.
Negan was talking about. Oh, you're all going to be sitting down having
Yeah.
Sunday dinner. No, they're finally getting it, so that's nice. We've got Fleetwood Mac playing, nice sentimental song.
yeah.
Dog, the return of dog.
Yeah, the return of Dog
Yep.
finally for 5 seconds, and then he gets mentioned in a sentence later on. Yeah, it's a nice little scene. I'm not too upset about it because they only spent like 10 seconds on it, but Magna and Yumiko, I couldn't care less. Their whole relationship subplot, every time they've had a conversation, it's like, because there was the whole thing where like she was a lawyer representing Magna and something happened. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
right.
never been interesting. Magna is an awful character, and I would say in universe, an awful person. She's like, was stealing food from Hilltop and hiding it out in the woods, and like,
Oh yeah, I
she
forgot
just
about
always
that.
seems to be grumpy. Like, I don't know. That wasn't like, oh yes, they're back together. It's like, come on, Yumiko, you can do better. But it is what it is. They only spent 10 seconds on it, so it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah. And then we got Rosita telling Gabriel finally about the bite, which just so nice. The subtle way of going about it, her whispering it, and
I would like to know her exact words she chose. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna die. My days are numbered. I've been bitten.
Yeah,
I don't know.
true. True.
So he looks saddened by it. So yeah.
Oh, and how she looks away there so she doesn't cry. Oh, man.
Very good acting.
Great acting. I
Yeah.
did worry in this shot, though, she was going to poke herself in the eye with her nail.
Really good acting from is it Kaylee? Is that her name?
Yeah.
From
Kaylee
Judith.
Fanning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
her
look of
kinda
realization on
realising.
her face. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's done really well.
Her eyebrows got a mind of its own, really. Always.
Her eyebrows separately figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can't watch this scene again.
Yeah,
Man.
so the
Skip it.
bed scene with Rosita, like you said before, Gabriel's prayer is really nice. Eugene gets the final moments with her. The line she says is, I'm glad it was you in the
Yeah.
end, which I guess you could interpret a number of ways, but I kind of took that to mean like out of her, Abraham and Eugene were sort of the original, they were a group.
And Sadiq. Oh wait. Okay.
As far as like back in season 4 when they were out on the road, it was that felt to me like she was saying, "I'm glad it was you in the end who survived because of who you've become now and stuff like that." And
Yeah, it was really nice.
he
Oh,
gets to
really?
say,
Very wholesome.
"What do you take away from that line?"
Well, in the end, being her end, I'm glad that as
I'm
simple
glad
as
you're here with me. in
Yeah,
the end.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Ah.
it
that
could have
works
been
as well.
anyone else, but I'm glad it's you.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Either or really. It can mean 5 different things, which is
Yeah.
it's kind of nice.
Do you reckon they were waiting for the perfect time for little Coco to be actually asleep, and then they rocked her to sleep and like laid her down? Okay, now everyone quickly lie down. Let's try and shoot this scene.
Well, how many shots is she actually in? Is she just in the wide shot and that one close up of her?
Yeah, and then when she reaches over and she like strokes her on the. There you go.
So that could have been shot 5 seconds after the other close up they had of her. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like quiet on the set. Quiet on the set.
Definitely.
What do you
Yeah.
reckon this smirk was after like he finishes the prayer and everything? Because I don't know if she
I'm going to turn the audio up.
for the music.
No, I'm also. Oh, okay. I thought he might have said something that. Wait, who smoked? Gabriel? Or?
No, she
Rosita.
like the whole time he's praying, she's kind of giving this whole kind of like
Yeah.
I don't need any of this.
I mean, it could be pretty much that because, she doesn't seem like she believes in God necessarily, but she's sort of like, oh, yeah, Gabriel, you do your thing. And she kind of is amused by it to an extent, which, I don't know, it works for the character, I think. What is that what you took from it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of like okay, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, whatever.
Yeah, and he goes all for it. But I mean, even that had such a nice line at the end. We'll see each other again someday, and yeah, Eugene getting to say, "I wouldn't be the man I am today without you." Just we definitely know that's true. So powerful stuff. And the music here, it comes into the. I'm deciding how nerdy to get here because there's a big story behind it. Essentially, it's a theme called "A Return to Compassion," and it was used first when Rick first held baby Judith, and again when they first show up at Alexandria outside the gates. And there's a couple of other scenes, but then particularly when Carl's sharing his vision for a better future, right as he's about to die. That same music comes back, and then that sort of bookmarks the season 8 finale.
Ah.
Oh, that was my phone actually vibrating.
Don't.
Oh my goodness. I'm leaning against the microphone stand, which is probably a mistake, but
That's all right.
I'm going to hope it doesn't go off again. So it's quite a pivotal track for the series, but it's sort of used very sparingly, and there's sort of seasons between when it's used. And they did bring it back in one of the trailers for the last part of the season and did it really effectively. But that pretty much from this point onwards, for like the next 20 minutes of the episode, however much is left, it's that same melody, just sort of remixed in different ways, played by
Yeah.
different instruments,
like
which
that.
is really nice. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of weight behind it. It's been a part of the series for a long time, and it's just an emotional, really nice track. And that goes through there's an upbeat version in the time skip, and it really builds up. You hear different instruments played as Daryl's riding off, and then even for Rick and Michonne, it's behind that. And then there's a really epic build-up version of it, for sort of the fade out of that, as Michonne's riding off into the herd of walkers and everything. So yeah, it's a powerful track. And probably if you go to the Walking Dead YouTube, watch the 1 second from every episode, was a really nice little clip they did, and that has the epic version of the track as well, which is really nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm glad they went with that one. And it's all right to have some bits of music that haven't been used before, but nice to have something that ties into, especially Carl's vision for a future when it cuts to the time skip. It feels like it's paying off a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Eugene. Eh?
Oh, man. Even just little Coco being like carried out the bed away from her. So it's like you're separating mother from child. Ah.
You don't want to spend your last moments with your baby. You want to spend them with Eugene.
Now, I didn't notice this before, but the little plaque she has on the wall to the right there is
Jules
Luke.
and Luke,
Yeah,
and then there's just some random person as the bottom one.
What is Luke's last name?
Oh, can you go back
It wasn't. They didn't do him the honor of having his plaque in focus, which I'll
I
write
think
an
there is
email.
another shot of it if you leave it going for a few seconds after that.
Okay.
We'll see.
Very well trimmed nails Eugene has.
Yeah, okay. I didn't notice, but sure. Luke Abrams.
There you go.
Ah.
Jules.
J.J. Abrams?
Well, now, like Andor, we can have his spin-off be called Abrams.
There you go.
Everyone will be like, who?
Marcia
Marissa?
Baru?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Marissa. Yeah.
I thought that was just funny. Why did they have to put a fourth one there with some random character who we have no idea who it is?
I'm sure you could look it up and...
Yeah, it probably would be a person.
All right, let me Google it now. But like, I'm pretty good with names and Walking Dead stuff, and
this is
I
true.
would put money on that.
This is true.
That is not even a character. Marissa, what's the last name? Beepo?
B-E-R-O-T.
Okay.
Barrow?
Barrow.
Byrot. Berot.
Ooh, okay.
A whole wiki
no.
article.
The picture is question mark. Actor, none. Gender, female. Hair, unknown. Age, unknown.
So she is just nobody.
First appearance, rest in peace. Last appearance, rest in peace.
What?
Okay then.
Devoured by zombies, off screen.
Oh
And-
my gosh.
So yeah, she's literally just a plaque, nothing else.
There you go.
Ethnicity, unknown.
Oh. There's a series we need.
Yeah.
Marissa.
Wow. So I don't know why they did that, but that's kind of funny at least. I'm glad we confirmed that for anyone wondering out there. Look how much colour there is in this flash forward now. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
like the windmill's been painted at Alexandria, which anyone who's following the photos that come out from the actual set, because it's pretty hard to hide a windmill when you that was a thing to an extent. But yeah, it's just really nice. Got Eugene and Max have a baby who they've called Rosie
Ah,
after
yeah.
Rosita. And apparently that baby is Carrie Payton, King Ezekiel's baby in real life.
No way. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So that's nice.
You can see the look in his eyes, like that's my
Yeah,
baby.
That's mine. Oh, is the harmonica there? This is Luke's group. Maybe not. Maybe it's not in the actual episode, but it's in a photo.
Man, he's got a good smile, King Ezekiel.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Ezekiel's running Commonwealth with Mercer as his
Yeah.
right-hand man. Are you happy with that, Isaac?
So
Ezekiel's
fitting.
one of
Yeah.
yours?
So
Yeah.
fitting, and especially because over the last couple of episodes, he's really stuck up for the Commonwealth as well.
Yeah.
You're like, this is a good place. We don't need to desert it and run away. We
Yeah.
can work on it.
Oh, I didn't even tie those together, but yeah, 100%.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really nice. And that, I would say, similar to, you said this about Ezekiel, I said about Lydia, that there were points earlier in the season where we said, like, oh, if they left it here and that was the end of the character, then that would be a satisfying ending. But it feels like with both of those, then they brought him back and kept doing more with them and made it even more satisfying and gave him an even better ending than what it could have been. So, yeah, I like that. It didn't feel like there was anyone who they should have left earlier and they came and ruined them in the finale. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. What,
I wonder if we've just talked, Liam.
what
Was
have
that
you
her
got,
arm?
Liam?
Is that what I saw?
So she's
Oh,
got
cut
like
back.
a wooden
Has
hand.
she got a long
Ah.
sleeve on?
She does, but
wooden hand, really? I didn't see it.
but unfortunately, I'm sorry to
This
be
is
this
Lydia
guy.
we're talking about if you're not watching the visuals. Sorry about that.
We see from her bandage before she's been cut above the elbow, and yet here she comes with her arm, and you see it come up and hug
functional
the
elbow.
Man, they gave that like 2 frames of screen time if she had a wooden arm.
Same as Aaron with the hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might be able to see it better than me, actually. It might be the angle.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Judith's got a compass back.
Yeah. So again, this for me for 5 seconds, I was like, "Oh, is this a
Rick.
parcel from Rick?"
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, it's from Negan. And do you guys remember the episode where Judith? Well, he stole her compass, and then he was going to give it back, and she said, "No, you keep it. It'll help you find your way." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because it was pretty obscure. It was a while ago.
Is that the one where she like goes to shoot him when he's riding on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bike? Damn it.
Yeah, so at least that was somewhat memorable enough. Yeah, and nice to hear at least that Negan's living happily. Connie and Daryl, they have a little moment.
Which made me sad.
Yeah, same.
Did it?
Yeah, like I was hoping those two
There's
were
the
going to get
wooden
together.
Lydia hand. There we go.
Ah, yeah.
There's a good shot.
That's a glove.
Yeah, that's cheating.
Yeah, I was hoping Connie and Daryl would get together.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I like, for the sake of the spin-off, yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
I get it, but bring her along. Send
Yeah.
her to France.
Yeah, for sure.
There is a couple of lines here, just like very, very, we're wrapping up the show lines here. I forget exactly what they were, but Father Gabriel says one right here where he's like, "We've got so far to go and so much to build," and everything like that. Where he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we'll come back to a few more in this episode, but I liked even a few episodes ago, he had, when he was talking to the guard, it was used in the trailer as well, when he was saying, the ending of every story is very important. How do you want yours to end? There's been some
Yeah.
good, like, meta lines of dialogue that sort of, it makes sense in the scene, but also it's like, yeah, you're talking to the audience here.
Yeah.
And even later when Daryl and Carol are talking, she says like, what is it like? We'll see each other again. This isn't the end, and some stuff like that. Even Judith in the last episode, like, I wish we got more time to remember them. Almost felt like Angela Kang saying, "Oh man, why did they tell us this had to be the last season? I wish they gave us some more time."
Well, look, based on how they wrote this season, I'm glad they've wrapped it up here.
Yeah. Now keep this shot paused, actually, if you can.
why
This
do you
is
think I've paused it
Hilltop.
right here, Ben? Exactly for you. Continue.
Really? Okay. What have you got?
Well, I wanted this to be your big
Oh,
thing because I'm
really?
sure you know.
Oh, okay.
You have
It's not
to
a
know.
big thing, and I can't take credit for it. I'm sure everyone probably knows it. Is that crouched behind the...
I think he's right there.
I'm looking to the left,
Yeah,
actually.
to the left with the
in
hat on, right?
I was.
No, because he's got... In the picture, he's got a black hat, and he's
Ah.
wearing a... what do you call it? Like a dark red shirt. He's crouched behind. You can't even really see him.
But Ben, who's he? Who are you talking about?
We're talking about Chandler Riggs. Carl Grimes did a little cameo.
Yeah.
He was just hanging out on the set because he wanted to be there for the last day, and they said, "Hey, we need some more extras. Put this hat on and just go in the background."
Hey, you get to work.
So that's a nice little thing. But I'm looking at the pine boxes on the left, and I think he's just to the right of them behind. No, left. Keep going. There. See, crouched down there. There's a black hat and like a dark red
The
shirt.
still I was showed him right there in between the two of them, but maybe.
The still that's online is just a production still, and I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong. He could be someone else in the background, but from the color of the shirt, at least, I think that's
The most obscure of obscure things.
absolutely, yeah. And so it wasn't even really a cameo, but there was a funny thing where I think like a week ago or something on Twitter, he posted, "I'm in the last episode," and so everyone was freaking out. And it's like, I wasn't lying. I am in the last episode. Yeah. So that's just a fun little thing. I swear in Alexandria before I saw Bob as well. There's a guy who looks just like him. But that hasn't come up, so I don't think it's a thing. They would have put it on social media if it was. Yeah, we got all the graves at Hilltop. It's just nice stuff.
Things, something to feel warm about at the end of a character drama. So
Definitely. Just talking big picture here, because we've got Daryl now, who's going to ride off onto another adventure and explore the world. This is one of those things where like it works well enough, and it's a great way to, great ending for the show is him essentially riding off into the sunset, riding off to have more adventures. But it's significantly undercut by the fact that he's abandoning these kids without any other parental figures that we know of.
But they're older now than they were. It's a whole year later.
Yeah, I mean, RJ's pretty little.
They've got
At the
Carol,
very
I
least.
It
suppose.
takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village, but not just a village.
Look at the look on her face there. She's like, "We talked
come on,
about
man.
this.
This is my deepest, darkest fear. I've been keeping a secret from you for the last
You had
3
one
years
job."
because I didn't want you to run away, and now you're running away.
That look is like I should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly. So that, for me, I love the spin-offs in the way I was talking about before, in the sense that it feels like expanded universe. If you want more of this, here's some more adventures they go on in the future that aren't necessarily essential to the main plot. But it really would only make sense for Daryl to go off after Rick's come back. Then it would work for him to ride off on other adventures, because now Judith's taken care of. His job here is done. I'm going to go explore the world and see what else is out there. Like, that then would have actually made a lot more sense for the character and been a satisfying sort of open-ended ending, for me at least. I get for promotional reasons why they can't have Rick come back right now, because they could have done it, and then the Rick and Michonne series is showing what's happened in the last 7 years. They could have done that, but it wouldn't probably have as much mystery as what they want in order to make sure that people subscribed on AMC Plus, which we'll come back to actually, because there was quite something at the end of the episode. But yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, the letdown for me is like, they almost tied it up in a nice bow and had a definitive ending, except for that. And so we can only hope now that there's going to be another finale, in the sense of wrapping up Rick's story and wrapping up the kids, giving them a proper ending. But there's definitely the concern that they're just going to try and keep going as long as they can until they run out of money and people stop watching, and then they'll just drop the show and that's it.
Which would really suck.
Yeah.
Well, you can speculate about that kind of thing, but
yeah. Hopefully, because they've said 6 episodes for Rick and Michonne. Hopefully, that's 6 episodes that ends with them arriving back at Alexandria and reuniting with the kids. That's definitely what we would hope for. It doesn't sound at this stage like the actors, Andrew Lincoln and all that, are signing up for the next 10 years of their lives. Like, it feels like they just want to come back and tie it up a bit. So hopefully that's the case, and then at the end of that, it'll be sort of another finale part 2 to wrap up those other loose ends. I don't know.
Now, I do have something here on Daryl with his bike here. So, crossbows and bikes. Two things you could say about Daryl if you had to.
Yeah.
Cloaks maybe is another one. Whatever, his vest.
Vest, yeah.
Okay, vest.
Well,
So
he's got both in this scene, so whichever you
Poncho
go.
and vest, yeah.
Ponchos and vests.
So could you give me a bit of audio here for this one? So he
Yeah,
gets on his
yeah.
bike, he's got his farewell, and then you expect some like kickstart, but what you
Yeah.
get instead? Oh, I love you.
Oh, I love you. That's nice.
Yeah, it sounds like a little. Yeah, it does not sound that good, right?
And then off he goes.
Yeah.
So,
When you compare it to his old chopper in like season 2 or whatever,
yeah.
big difference.
All of a sudden, awesome sweeping shots with him
Yeah.
riding away.
Very
This
nice.
is what we needed for everything else. I get budget.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How did you like the music here, Ben?
Really nice. And like I said before, this is the same Return to Compassion melody, but we
Just
get
like,
some different instruments coming. It's just nice. And as he's riding, he rides past Greg Nicotero, the makeup guy, as a Walker cameo. Which he was, when Daryl was very first introduced, he was the Walker eating the deer that Daryl shot. And then this is the last one he passes in the show. So that's nice little,
Symmetry.
yeah, symmetry.
Cue the first fade out.
Yeah, first fade out. Which technically there's only like 3 fade outs in the episode. But we'll come back to that.
To me, fade out means close the book and we go
Yeah.
to sleep.
Rick and Michonne is a glorified after credits scene, essentially.
Yeah, it didn't feel like part of the show at all.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. But I like that they gave, okay, that's the end. And now here's the bonus tease for Rick and Michonne.
Yeah, fair.
Which was more than just a tease because we get, Rick and while he's writing in the diary, we get flashbacks to T-Dog, the most important characters from the show. Yeah, man, very, very emotional. You could argue that it's cheesy, but in this instance, like they've earned it, I feel like, to show all the faces of the
Yeah.
past characters and do a big...
It's the fanfare at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Big fanfare for there's Herschel who that just adds more meaning to it, especially because the actors died as well. Like there's just it makes you sentimental and think back on wow, it has been 12 years. It's been a long journey. Yeah, so I really liked it. I teared up definitely the second time watching this. The first time I was just processing what was happening and trying to take it all in. But yeah, it's emotional. The music builds up, and we're sort of given a little bit of information of where they're at the moment and what we can expect from the show. And the biggest thing that I really like about this is that Rick is actively trying to escape and trying to make his way back to the family, because that was the problem everyone had, is like, come on, man, 6 years. Like, well, what are you doing? Like, why has he not found his way back by now? But as far as giving some sort of an ending, I feel like this is good enough if you had to, like, if you were to stop watching here. What it ends on is that Rick is making every effort to try and get back to his family. Michonne's out there making every effort to find him. And the very end shot where he looks up at the helicopter and smiles right in the last 2 seconds.
Yeah, what was that about?
I mean, you can speculate to your heart's content, but for me, at least, the vibe of it is kind of similar to do you remember when they all get ambushed at first by the junkyard people? And he just has the biggest smile on his face as the camera pushes in. Is the sort of thing of like, this might look bad now, but I've got a plan, or I can see how this can help in the bigger picture. Kind of similar even to they're screwing with the wrong people,
Okay.
in the sense that it's very open-ended, but it ends on, this isn't Rick, about to be arrested and kept in jail for the rest of his life. He's smiling because he knows, even though this is a roadblock now, I've got a plan, and I haven't given up hope, I guess, is the biggest thing. So, So whatever you want to take from it, I like that it shows that Rick is doing everything he can and he's still got that fire within him. He's not just completely defeated and giving up. So, yeah. Although, man, watch the bare feet when there's walkers around. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Is it just me, or was there like a massive quality jump as far as like shots and
For
scenery?
better or worse? What are you talking
For better. Like, look, he just stabs him. Like, look at how the blood's running down and everything. I don't know. I feel like this cut to like Rick and Michonne, they put extra effort into like.
Yeah. I mean, you'd hope so, for sure. Definitely this of Michonne in the mist is all really cool and riding away into the herd of walkers. I mean, maybe not that specific shot, the close-up. There was one note with the costume, which
Morgan?
I think we all laughed about the costume in the sense that, like, if that she just came off set of Wakanda
Yeah.
Forever and forgot to change clothes. It definitely has that kind of vibe about it. But the one thing with this, which you can make an argument for, at the very least, I like that Scott Gimple, who wrote this scene and he's written the dialogue for it and he's show running the Rick and Michonne stuff. He's got a vision behind it, and the big thing it was building up to was their saying, which is "We're the ones who live."
Yes. Yeah.
And that this is why I kind of feel like it's part one and part two, because at the start of the previous episode in Judith's monologue, she says, "My parents had a secret saying that they would tell each other," and it hasn't really been set up very well in the rest of the show. Like, they said it a few times in some key scenes, but like it wasn't like, oh, that's their iconic line that they always said, "We're the ones who live."
Maybe I'm really wrong here. But
Yeah.
do you remember in season blah 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 episode blah 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 with Beta, and they have that chant, "We are the end of the world"? Was that even the title of the episode?
Yeah, it was.
There you go. Okay. All right.
Season 10, episode 2.
Yeah. So I wondered, in my head, it was like, oh, they're saying we are the end of the world, and you've got us saying we are the ones who live. So
Yeah, okay.
that's just how I put it together. It's probably
Yeah.
not at all how.
Oh, I like that. Really good. I mean, that was even nice after they've done the big montage of all the characters, then they come out and then they go back into it again and the music swells and everyone, all the cast, even some of the older people, Chandler Riggs and all that, got their line in saying, "We're the ones who live" in the montage. Morgan, like you said. So yeah, it's nice. It feels, very over the top, but as it kind of deserves to be for a finale. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah. No, it was nice. And then after that, you get a last little bit of Judith and RJ standing at Commonwealth or Alexandria, whatever, saying, "We're the ones who live," and then that's the end of the episode. So before we continue after that, did you guys have any notes on, like, how are you feeling for the Rick and Michonne stuff? Are you happy, or how are you feeling in the moment? Nothing?
Apprehensive.
Yeah.
Huh.
Apprehensive. More so, probably more out of, like you were saying before, I hope that they wrap it up well. I don't want them to keep trying to milk The Walking Dead as much as they can, and then after, there's no more money coming out, they just axe it. Like, I really hope that they do give closure to not only Rick, but like you said, Judith and little RJ. That'd be really cool. And Michonne, obviously. Yeah, so I'm not skeptical, but there's that little part of me that's worried that they won't do that they're just going to go, "Cool, this got a lot of viewers, let's keep going."
Yeah.
And then it goes pear-shaped. But
Which there's potential for anything to happen.
Yeah.
Like, they've said 6 episodes, but they've also said 1 movie. They've also said 3 movies, and that didn't happen. So...
But I'm excited to see them back again, though.
Yeah, they're supposedly starting filming in January, so not far off. So we'll see. I guess, really, when I found those words in my head of talking about the Star Wars novels and things like that, that just explained it in the way I really wanted it to, in the sense that for Daryl, that makes it so much less of a hard hit, like him going to France, Negan and Maggie going off to New York. Like, you might think, oh, why are they doing that? That's a bit weird. But if you just see it as like before the sequel trilogy came out for Star Wars, there were so many books of here's what Luke gets up to after Return of the Jedi. Here's him training here's all the adventures they go on, and you can say, yeah, Daryl goes to France afterwards. Sure, like it doesn't matter so much because the main story's wrapped up, and now this is just a bonus adventure that you get to watch and come along for the ride if you want to. That takes away a lot of the why France? Why this?
Yeah, that's true.
But Rick and Michonne is the only exception of that because this is Rick's story. It's left on a very open-ended way, and they really need to wrap it up in a satisfying way if they want to do it justice, which is the only worry that they might not do that. Like if the other shows get cancelled in the middle of Daryl climbing the Eiffel Tower, like who cares? Because the main story's already been wrapped up. So
I'll be pretty salty if they do that.
yeah,
I
sure,
want some resolution for Daryl as well.
yeah. Anyways,
I, on the other hand, would be very keen to see the show taken a very different way.
Yeah.
I think with these new shows, you know, fair enough job to Angela and all the rest who worked on it, but I think there is it needs a new spin.
yeah,
It
definitely.
needs someone with fresh eyes to place importance on different things, and I'll be very interested with Rick and Michonne. Heck yeah. Let's go. Let's stoke the engines and all aboard the hype train. I've said in previous episodes ages ago, Rick wasn't even my favorite character. But ever since he's been gone, I've been like, oh man, like I miss Rick now. So, and same goes with Michonne. So you're telling me that there's going to be 6 episodes of some kind of special show with like potentially feature length things, maybe.
Nothing confirmed at all. So who
Gotcha.
knows?
All right. Well, still, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah. I guess the only other thing to say, we're rewatching this on Foxtel now, which is the experience that I think if you were watching it on normal TV, this is what you would have got, which is that at the end of the episode, RJ and Judith, we're the ones who live, and it cuts to the end credits and plays the music, and you get to sit there and take it all in, and it's really nice.
Except,
Unfortunately, we watched it on AMC Plus, and they need to make sure they get those subscriber bucks. So we got an absolute bombardment of
silly buggers.
ads and other videos. Like it just
My
didn't
gosh.
stop. Eh?
nope.
And some of it makes sense. Like, okay, I get it. Don't go anywhere. The Walking Dead's not over yet. We've got more spin-off shows. Okay, I get it. Like, for The Walking Dead, the end is only the beginning. It's a nice little pun because, zombies die and they keep walking. Bigger and deader. Not really a fan of that, but whatever. So that's a thing. That's fine. And then you've got Negan and Maggie, Dead City in production, which they'd already posted on social media a few weeks ago. And it's just the most obnoxious music you could have picked and just random shots of them on set. I understand in the sense that they want to prove to us, yes, this is happening because we know we promised those Rick movies 5 years ago and they never happened. And so, look, this is actually, we're filming this. This is definitely going to happen. And then after that, we get like a thank you, which they had already posted a version of it on social media of all the cast saying thank you. But this has Rick and Michonne in it as well, because obviously that would have been a spoiler if they'd shown them in costume and everything. So it's all nice stuff, but I feel like this whole thing, even with the episode Insiders this whole season on AMC Plus, they're just not respecting I don't know, just that moment in the end credits where you get to take it all in and think about the episode. Because, they could have easily played the end credits. It lasts 30 seconds. You get the nice music. You get to think about it.
It's the bow at the end of the show.
Exactly, yeah. And then after that, you have all the cast saying thank you, and you have all those things. I really don't think people would have turned it off the second the end credits come up.
No,
for
definitely
the finale at least. So it kind of just felt a little bit like a slap in the face of like, you're having this great experience watching the episode and now bam, bam, bam. And then even once they've finished the Walking Dead stuff, there's an ad for some other random series on AMC Plus.
Come on.
And then the end credits start to play and then it auto plays the next thing. And
Yeah,
it's
shocking.
just kind of, it
Absolutely
doesn't
shocking.
leave you in a nice headspace where you should be at the end of something like this. But yeah, it's funny to laugh about at the very least.
You're like, come on, AMC, get it together.
Yeah, even at the start of this, you press play on the episode.
Yeah, and
it's not like an
adverts.
ad plays first and says episode up next. It's literally built into the
Yeah.
episode. Is the ad for some
Yeah.
random Alexandra Daddario show or something? Is that her name? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so obviously I understand from a business point of view, you're doing everything you can to keep people giving you money, but like, it's pretty cheap. Yeah. So it is what it is. And it's probably a nicer experience if you got to just watch the end credits afterwards, which some people did get. So there we go. Any other thoughts from you guys? How are you feeling overall? Are you satisfied?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said at the start, I'm relieved that it's done in
Yeah.
a way. We can rest now. We can rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot that I will miss, and obviously with stuff to look forward to. Again, with the both of you, we haven't yet even discussed if we're going to be
Sure, yeah.
kind of continuing Just Keep Walking with.
I would say we'll talk about it more off mic, but definitely a lot of it, I'm sure, will depend on the quality of the shows. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Beyond didn't hold up too good.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I would say definitely for Rick and Michonne, even, I mean, I'm sure you guys are probably on board, but even if not, I'll just do a little podcast by myself. But I feel like that's 6 episodes. That's pretty easy to digest at least. And then with Daryl and Megan, we'll just call it that.
All right.
It'll just be a matter of seeing how interesting it is. And I'll watch it all regardless, but we'll see if it's worth podcasting about. Because definitely the big worry from here on out is that, I mean, they could barely even give enough budget to the main show. Do you think they're going to pour money into the spin-offs, especially with like New York City, the most expensive location to film in the whole world? Like, yeah, I don't know that I'm expecting too much budget-wise and everything. So we'll just have to see. But
Smaller cast.
yep, true,
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
Mm.
We'll see. But yeah, I'm on board. You've given me good characters and stuff, so I'll follow their journey regardless. So yeah.
Well,
Well.
if I might just then take a side moment
Yeah.
to add a little congratulations to Ben for however
You
many.
just circled special appearance by Andrew Lincoln. That's not me.
That's me fidgeting while I'm talking to help
Sure.
help the thought flow. Yeah, Ben's done a great job hosting, and
Yeah,
it's definitely not
absolutely.
an easy job. So well done to you, Benjamin.
Round of applause to you.
Oh,
You
thank
have
you.
hit the applause key for yourself.
There we
you
Yeah,
go.
there it is, there
For
it is.
myself.
Yeah. Even the guest interviews and everything is
Yeah.
just phenomenal. It's
Another level.
Man, like I just feel so lucky to have been able to do that sort of stuff, hey, and that the people who did come on the show were, took the time to do it, and obviously, yeah, for you guys, I mean, all this podcast equipment is Isaac's. We record at his house every week, and so yeah, thanks for opening up your house to do this, and Liam for making the trip, and
I just
Just
rock up
both-
and speak.
yeah, but both of you just for taking the time to do it. It's been really fun, and yeah, definitely have enjoyed it. It's one of those shows where like, yeah, you can enjoy it by yourself, but it's an extra bit of fun if you get to experience it with some other people and
Definitely.
talk about it afterwards. So yeah, good times. I do remember actually, not to go too far into it, but like watching this show by myself for a few years. And I definitely felt like something was missing to an extent. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to talk to someone about that
Yeah.
big moment. Like, oh well. But
I agree.
yeah, so this has been nice for the end. And for the people listening as well, there's definitely been some people who've kept in touch on Instagram and given their thoughts. Some other podcasts who we've like Squawking Dead and stuff like that, who we've kept in touch, and I've jumped on their show once in a while and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just been a nice experience building all these relationships. So yeah, definitely looking forward to continuing with some extra stuff down the line, and happy with how we're leaving it at the moment. So yeah,
there you go.
there we go. Well,
I'm gonna cry.
Can you play that special musical phenomenon while this is all happening?
oh
What did
yeah,
you call
we'll,
it again?
we'll see how we go with copyright.
infringements.
There you go.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think without further ado, I've been Ben.
I'm still Liam.
Oh, this hurts. I'm going to cry. I'm always Isaac.
And we will just keep walking.
Well
Oh.
said, Liam. Well said.
You're going to say we're the ones who live. I'm like,
That would have been too much.
Dan Fogler returns.
The backstory for one of AMC Plus's most underrated, overworked characters.
For there to have a legacy, there must be a beginning.
Where has he been between season 10, episode 16, and season 11, episode 22?
Why is his harmonica so shiny?
And how did he learn to play every single instrument?
Find out in Abrams, a Luke story, a Walking Dead universe show, only on AMC Plus.
Education never ends.
First, her father was Sadiq. Then,
Gabriel.
but what if there was another?
No, it's not Eugene. Find out in Bizquick.
AMC Plus special.
When I was pouring the Bizquick, I was trying to make pancakes.
Welcome to Woodbury.
Woodbury was only the beginning. David Morrissey returns for a 3-episode spectacular.
In a world where there's only one eye, it is so much harder to watch your back.
One Eye Bry sees it all.
He only gets half the picture.
The Governor returned to Woodbury on AMC Plus.
Liar.
We're gonna get an email from AMC Plus. Like, what the hell, man?
Now we have to make this thing.